To understand the fragility of the modern world, look inside the device you're holding right now. Beneath the glass and aluminum of a smartphone lies an architecture of almost incomprehensible complexity, operating on an atomic scale. For decades, the world operated as a single frictionless machine. Components were designed on one continent, mined on another, and assembled on a third, moving across borders within a highly synchronized global supply chain. That system is breaking down. The era of laissez-faire globalization, where trade trumped geopolitics, has reached its end. This map shows how the global economy is fracturing along 4 interconnected quadrants: brain, muscle, artery, and shield. Together, these fault lines define a new age of economic nationalism. The first fracture point is the digital brain. Semiconductors are the foundational commodity of the 21st century, but their production is hyper-concentrated in a single geopolitical flashpoint, Taiwan. This chart shows the global market share for advanced microchip manufacturing. A single company, TSMC, handles 85% of the world's fabrication for chips under 7 nanometers, the hardware required for everything from AI accelerators to modern aviation. Printing these chips requires precision at a near impossible scale. A modern processor holds over 100 billion transistors, each smaller than a single virus. Creating them requires a process called extreme ultraviolet lithography. These panels illustrate the mechanical process. A high-energy laser strikes a droplet of molten tin 50,000 times a second. This generates the ultra-hot plasma that emits the ultraviolet light needed to print atomic-level patterns onto silicon. In October 2022, the United States weaponized this complexity. By invoking the Foreign Direct Product Rule, Washington mandated that any equipment using even a fraction of American technology could no longer be sold to China. The goal is to freeze China's technological progress at a legacy level. What was once a masterpiece of global collaboration is now an active microchip war. If silicon is the brain, critical minerals are the physical muscle. Moving toward a decarbonized economy has triggered a fierce scramble for the raw elements needed to power it. This wireframe shows the material requirements of the energy transition. A standard electric vehicle requires 6 times the mineral inputs of a conventional car, while an offshore wind plant demands 13 times more resources than a gas-fired plant of the same size. By 2040, the IEA projects a 25-fold increase in demand for graphite and a 42-fold increase for lithium. But the true geopolitical leverage isn't in digging the ore. The choke point is the chemical refining process required to turn raw dirt into battery-grade materials. Over 2 decades, Beijing built a monopoly over this refining stage. Today, even if lithium is mined in Australia or the US, it is almost always shipped to a Chinese industrial complex like this one to be chemically processed. China has already demonstrated its willingness to weaponize this monopoly, placing stringent export controls on gallium, germanium, and graphite between 2023 and 2026. The response has been a wave of infrastructure bidding wars. The US is backing projects like the Lobito Corridor Railway in Africa, while a bidding war for extraction rights is underway across South America's lithium triangle. Western supply chains remain vulnerable. Intellectual property cannot function without the raw physical elements controlled by an adversary. The third fracture is in the arteries of global finance. In West Asia, regional conflicts have shown how quickly instability in the Red Sea and the Strait of Hormuz can paralyze global maritime trade. This instability, combined with the freezing of Russian foreign reserves, has triggered a shift in global trust. Central banks across the global south have begun an aggressive de-dollarization strategy, diversifying their holdings away from U.S. Treasury bonds. This graph tracks the trajectory of gold purchases by central banks. The massive spike starting in 2022 corresponds directly with the use of financial sanctions and the outbreak of regional wars. Physical gold held in domestic vaults is becoming the ultimate defensive hedge for nations that no longer trust the Western-led financial system. At the July 2026 NATO summit in Ankara, European capitals were forced to confront a new strategic reality. Between managing a naval standoff in the South China Sea and stabilizing the Middle East, Washington is now juggling simultaneous crises that have stretched its military and political bandwidth to the limit. The drone and missile warfare seen in Ukraine has further exposed a critical weakness. The continent's military-industrial base was built for a peace that no longer exists, leaving it unsuited for a high-intensity war of attrition. While nations in Western Europe have been slow to increase their defense budgets, the countries bordering Russia have already reoriented their national economies towards security. This map shows the division in threat perception. Poland has surged its defense spending to 4.12% of its GDP, more than double the rate of France or Germany. Warsaw is currently executing a massive military buildup, signing procurement contracts for South Korean
American
K-2 tanks,
HIMARS
American HIMARS artillery, and F-35 fighter jets.
NATO is shifting
the center
eastward.
of gravity within NATO
Europe
is shifting eastward. Europe is being forced to build a decentralized military shield, independent of American guarantees. This world map shows that the microchip war, mineral nationalism, and regional militarization are not isolated events. They are part of the same systemic fracture. The likely result is a permanent split in the global supply chain, separating a high-cost Western bloc from a massive Chinese legacy chip bloc. In these fortress economies, the duplication of effort and the death of global collaboration will likely slow down technological progress for everyone. This fracture is currently held in check by the Silicon Shield, the theory that Taiwan's chip monopoly is the only deterrent preventing an immediate war, as its destruction would evaporate $1 trillion from the global economy. Mutual economic destruction might prevent a kinetic world war today, but the tectonic plates of power have shifted. Global trade is hardening into a collection of isolated, hyper-armed fortresses.